But I will say there was one line that Kamala Harris delivered in that interview which will come back to haunt her. I mean, I should say Trump tweeted out the whole interview saying our latest campaign ad just dropped. Yeah. But there was one line in particular. We liked it so much we made a button of it. Listen.
Got to take responsible for what happened in your administration.
There we go. Let's hear it again.
Got to take responsible for what happened in your administration.
What an amazing admission.
Right?
You know, as she spends the rest of the 25 minutes discussing how she has absolutely no responsibility for the administration that she serves in. I mean, it's just a wild... we come back to those things, like you mentioned on The View, when she says that she wouldn't do anything different than Biden, or this clip. There are like basic central tenets of this campaign that they have tried to work the entire messaging around, that she's new, that she's different, she'll do things different than Joe Biden, that this is a change election and she is the change agent, whether it's generational or policy-wise or all those things. And yet every single time that she's asked anything remotely touching those things, she fucks it up. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, like, is somebody not have just one talking point? Is there just one talking point over in the Kamala Harris campaign where, like, every time you're asked about something, say this?
I mean, yes. The answer to that is yes. And we've heard it 1,000 times. Here she was with Charlemagne the God on his radio show yesterday, unleashing her very favorite one. It's SOT 26.
Knowing the entrepreneurship that we have in the community, the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams.
Oh, God.
Not everybody has access to the Capitol, but we know in the community we do not lack for ambition, aspirations, dreams, hard work ethic. My agenda is about tapping into the ambitions and the aspirations, knowing that folks want to have an opportunity.
There's a couple of things that you said.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeke. There was a couple of things that you said that people would say were talking points, but it's really just your story, even though they are becoming your greatest hits.
Come on. Come on.
Help me.
He's a pro. He tried to save her, you know? Yeah.
Oh, many times. His questions were ridiculous. I actually can't believe what a bootlicking experience it was. I would have expected a couple of tough ones. Why do you let him call you the border czar? That wasn't your role. Why is it okay for him to say he will lock up his political opponents? Right? It's ridiculous. I mean, they all went like this. I will show you my favorite part of that interview, though, where she promises she's going to win and debuted a new accent. Take a listen.
This is a margin of error race. It's tight. I'm going to win. But it's tight. And you know, what is at stake is truly profound.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yet another one.
Like, she gets in front of a largely black audience, and I'm going to win. I'm going to win, girl. I mean, it's so obvious. It's so insulting. She gets away with it.
Of all the Democrat candidates to copy, she goes with Hillary Clinton being unlikable and creating accents on the spot. Like, that's not exactly the template for victory.
Is that how you win black men? You talk like that? Is that what she's doing?
So, like, maybe we should try sending President Obama to scold them. Maybe that'll make them think I'm less of a scold.
Maybe she's just running boldly on the platform of authenticity.
Yeah.
Like that's, she's like, everybody tries to be authentic. Let me do the exact opposite.
Her reach out is so absurd to the black men. This continues, right? Because she thinks she can win if she can just boost those numbers with the black men who are going more and more for Trump. And that requires going on Charlemagne's show and talking like that. I'm going. You tell it, girl. I hear that, girl. Like, come on. This is ridiculous. We hear you all the time. We know this is not how you talk. And she released her plan the other day, you saw, where it's like, I know exactly what black men want. I'm going to legalize weed. I put 1,900 black people and others in jail for smoking weed or for dealing weed out in California. But now I've seen the light. I'm going to legalize weed. Does that appeal to you, black men? That's what I think of you. And Van Jones, as if on cue, comes in when he sees her plan, which is like, we're going to study the diseases that affect black men. We're going to create like special loans just for black men, which is illegal. That's not okay. You're not allowed to do that in America under our Constitution. She promptly reversed it and said, oh, I mean, for everyone, which she did on Charlemagne, because it's illegal to do it her way. Anyway, he takes a look at her little list and look at his reaction.
Finally, Kamala Harris sent us a love letter. To you, that might have been a policy document. I read that as a love letter from Kamala Harris to black men who need some love, black men who need some respect, black men who need some concern and some care and consideration. You know, we need some mamala from Kamala, and we got that.
Come on.
Oof.
Jobs?
Nothing?
How about jobs? How about a better income? How about a better shot at exactly what you want? It's like what I don't understand is her pandering is like I've never seen anything like it. And it's not just the accent. It's not just the made up lines. It's not just the endless string of prepositional phrases. It's like saying what she thinks people want to hear. And they're just like, hey, how about a better life for me and my family?
Yeah. No, it's condescending too.
100%.
You know, I mean, well, you start with the drug legalization thing. Like, okay, all right. Well, that's certainly an assumption that you've made, Kamala Harris, about our community. But then you have these like nickel and dime, $25,000, whatever, $50,000 small business write-offs and all of these things. And then
none of which she'll get through with the divided government.
But we can't do it. But remember, I mean, look, the Biden administration actually tried to do this with black farmers. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until the Supreme Court stepped in and was like, hey, by the way, there is like a mountain of civil rights leaders that fought for the whole idea that we can't award race-based consideration of tax dollars in this country. And like, I don't know, they sort of had a pretty good point and they threw the whole thing out. And she's like, no, we'll try that again. Oh, wait, can't do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
sorry.
It's substance.
My plan is falling apart within days of announcing it. I mean, hours of announcing it. I do want to get back just for a minute to the media reaction to her interview last night, because we've been hearing more and more her supporters mention the woman thing. It wasn't just Barack Obama. I heard on the New York Times, the Daily podcast the other day, like more and more they're trying to attribute whatever problems she's having in the polls to, you know, the country doesn't like women. Women can't make it in America. And here was the most explicit version I heard from Anand Giridharadas. He's an NYU professor and an MSNBC contributor. And here was his reaction this morning to the Fox News interview.
But it was almost interruptionism last night. I was watching this and it was like, this is interruption as an art form, interruption. And it started to feel like interruption as a metaphor for a rising new America, a new generation of leadership, a woman, a person of color in Kamala Harris trying to speak, and this kind of figure of the old guard who was offended at the notion that her voice had a volume, right? That her vocal cords made sound. Invited her on the show and then was very, very angry that he could hear her. And it just felt like a metaphor for a minority in this country that is angry at the notion that a rising pluralist, more pluralist new America is speaking, is around, is here, and a desire to interrupt not just a person, but the future. And I actually don't think the future will be interrupted.
So this guy is a complete moron. And I think Americans are really fed up with this kind of game where it really started during the Obama presidency, but saying everything is racism, this is white supremacy, this is sexism, this is misogyny. We're no longer in a place where we have an economy where we're allowed to have this kind of luxury of this made up garbage to be a concern for Americans. We have Western North Carolina underwater. Americans are paying 8% on mortgages. They don't want to hear a message that actually you're a racist and America is a terrible country. And they keep trying to play this. And that strategy is not going to work anymore. There's actual serious concerns for Americans. The border is wide open. Americans are getting murdered. There's houses, there's buildings being taken over by gangs from Venezuela. And you have Martha Raddatz who says, well, I mean, it's only a few buildings, JD, that have been taken over. There are real problems. And for these people to try to cover for an idiot, Kamala Harris is not only unprepared, it would be dangerous to have such a moron in office, unprepared for even meeting with Brett Baer, let alone run the country. And they're trying to play the racism card. Americans are fed up with that guy.
I don't know, Smug. I think a lot of, Trump voters who might watch that would be very compelled to believe what that character from the Hunger Games movie told them.
Honestly, I couldn't even listen to what he was saying. I was like, dude, pull your finger out of the light socket.
Yeah, what is that hair?
Yeah,
what the hell is going on?
There was a lot of hair going on there. But it's not just Anand. I'll give you an example of what we've been hearing in recent days as her poll numbers struggle in state after state. Watch.
You just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. That's what being a man is? Putting women down? That's not acceptable.
I think what weighs Kamala Harris down are two things that are obvious that distinguishes her from, say, a Hillary Clinton or a Joe Biden or even a Barack Obama. This is a woman of color.
And he's asking people who are the most racist of this country to support him.
I'm on a Trump 47 bus. I'm a Latino.
That means
he has me on that bus.
That means you're okay with racism. It doesn't mean he's not racist.
Absolutely.
We do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, but in small pockets among black and brown men, too. This happens to be a global phenomenon as women become more economically independent and seek positions of power.
But somehow it's a tight race, comes down to race and comes down to gender. Like, if Kamala was a rich white man, the race probably wouldn't be as close. This country still has an uninvestigated race problem that we are afraid to investigate.
There's a reason why America has the same number of female presidents as the Taliban. But there's a certain type of person who thinks that voting for a woman makes you less of a man.
Oh, comparing this country to the Taliban.
I mean, it's just, look, time after time after time, it is the last leftist refuge of a losing argument. Mm-hmm. Every time they get behind the 8 ball, whether it's a policy argument or whether it's a campaign argument or something, it's always racism and sexism. It has to be, because certainly our leftist ideas that have bankrupted more countries around this world over the last 50 years than anything else aren't the problem.
Yeah, and certainly it can't be the problem that we nominated an absolute idiot. I mean, there are millions of women in this country who have no problem getting their point across. I live with 4 of them, and I'm on TV with I don't understand why they're like, oh no, they're against women. No, we're against that one. You know, yeah. She's a moron. Can you think about how the other leaders around the world are talking? We've talked about this on the show. They make fun of her amongst themselves. Our enemies are like, yeah, I hope Kamala wins so that America steps down a notch and it gives us a competitive advantage.
But don't you think, fellas, and we talked a little bit about this week on our show, Megyn, don't you think that when they go to this last refuge, when they get to the point where you're all just a bunch of sexists, or the argument that Barack Obama was making, isn't that basically what has pushed men away to begin with?
I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, what man in America wants to be nagged and guilted into accepting that they're the problem?
Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. The app shows whether you're burning fat or carbs and provides tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and stress management. You see, you breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and then based on your measurements, Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for the day. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals to get real-time insights. Your metabolism is your body's engine, how it turns food into fuel. Optimal metabolic health translates to numerous benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, and better sleep. Lumen can also track your cycle, adjusting its recommendations to maintain a healthy metabolism through hormonal shifts. If you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/Megyn to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/Megyn for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.